The meeting made headlines around the world. Pope Francis sat down with Father James Martin, a Jesuit who's one of America's most prominent priests. Father Martin is a hero to many LGBT Catholics. He's called for a warmer welcome of the LGBT community in the church and for the recognition of their full humanity. Father Martin is the editor-at-large for the Jesuit magazine America, and he joins us now from his Manhattan office. Father Martin, thanks so much for being with us.
My pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
You spent 30 minutes with the Holy Father in a private audience. It must have been really exciting. What did you want to see from the Pope?
It was very exciting and very unexpected. Basically, I just wanted to tell stories of LGBT Catholics to him and be their voice in the Vatican. And he was very warm and welcoming and open. So it was a wonderful meeting, and I left very inspired and encouraged.
You tweeted that the meeting was one of the highlights of your life, and you felt encouraged, consoled, and inspired by your conversation with the Holy Father. What reactions have you been getting since the tweet?
Very positive. I think for particularly LGBT Catholics who sometimes feel that they don't have a voice in the church, they felt really heard. And one of the things the Pope did that I thought was really significant is that not only did he meet me in a public setting, but he also put it on his schedule. And so I think he really wanted people to know of his care and concern for these members of his flock.
Your well-known book about building bridges between the LGBT community and the church has sparked a lot of feedback. Have you seen any noticeable changes in the relationship between the LGBT community and Catholics since your writing was published in 2017?
That's a great question. I don't know if it's directly a result of the book, but I think really as more and more people are open about who they are, open about being gay, for example, more and more families are affected. More and more of us know people who are LGBT. And that means that more and more parishes are affected and more dioceses are affected. And I really think that's kind of what counts for a little bit of a warming attitude in the church. And also, you have more bishops and cardinals who are a little bit more friendly to this population.
Did you see a warming coming from the Vatican?
Well, I did. I think that the Pope's meeting was a real significant step. And then the next day, I met with the Vatican's Congregation for Education to talk to them about issues of sexuality and even gender. And they were they allowed me to tweet out the fact that they were open to dialogue. So I think, just like people in the United States, people in the Vatican know more and more people in their families and in their, regular lives. And so I think that is one of the sort of accounting for the warming and the greater sense of welcome, I think.
Going back to your book for a minute, the book also unleashed criticism from some conservatives opposed to your position. Do you think the meeting with the Pope serves as an endorsement of your ministry?
I would say it's certainly a sign of the Pope's support. People who were against the ministry are usually against Pope Francis, not all the time. And so I saw a lot of people, some people online who are still upset about it. But I mean, I want to say to somebody, who's Catholic, I mean, if the Pope meeting with you for 30 minutes isn't some sort of sign that it might be a good idea to maybe read the book or take these things seriously, I don't know what else could be.
So what are you saying now to the LGBT Catholics who are faithful yet often feel alienated from the church?
That the Pope hears them and the Pope listens to them. And I always tell people the most basic thing I focus on is baptism. I always say, look, you're baptized, you were called into the church by Jesus Christ, like everyone else is at their baptism, and that's your groundedness in the church. And so you are just as much a part of the church as Pope Francis, as your local bishop, as your pastor, as your parents, or as me. And I think people really have to be reminded of that because oftentimes people treat them like they're not Catholic. And so for me, baptism is really the beginning of that vocation as a Catholic and as a Christian.
What do you think are the next steps for acceptance?
I think basically just listening. I think, as I said, most LGBT people don't feel listened to or welcomed. And, something simple as bishops listening to them more, pastors meeting with them more, and, as you've said very well, treating them like fully human people. I mean, the catechism, and, this is presenting any challenge of church teaching on anything, but the catechism talks about treating them with respect, compassion, and sensitivity. And certainly all of those things, mean that we listen to them and we sort of try to understand their own experiences and particularly their experiences of God and of the church.
Father James Martin, editor-at-large at America magazine, Thanks for being with us today.
My pleasure.
If you're watching Currents News on YouTube, be sure to hit the subscribe button and then click on the bell to get instant updates about all of our newest content, because we are putting your faith in the news.